Good morning. Happy Thursday, Mike.
Happy Thursday, Isabel. How are you? Long time no see, huh?
I know it's been what, 12 hours?
Not even. Couldn't be.
No, actually
Couldn't.
11. No, 13 hours. I think we hung up at 9. It
Yeah,
doesn't
but
matter.
we talk all the time. Anyway, so good to see you.
Uh, Same here. How you doing? Is life good?
It is. It's busy, but it's good. Good. And
Good.
is man, we had a fantastic week and show and your show and then Christine Bell, our buddy over there in Australia, and things are just bumping, man. Again, hounds visibility, the media, live streams are bumping, people are doing things, having fun, singing kumbaya while knocking down business, man. You can't ask for anything better. Seriously. Redneck Camelot is strong and growing. And thanks to you guys, man. So love you all. Appreciate
It
the
was
support.
love you right back, brother. But it was Australia week this week because you went on Snappy Chat with Christine Bell. And then we had the magnificent Lisa Marie last night on the Hand Show. And Jesus, it was Kangaroo Week all week.
Oh man, love our Australians, man. I'm gonna go camp out there in the
Yeah.
outback with them, man. It's Lisa Marie. We've got Suzanne Mercer. I mean, tons of Australia. I just love them. I love the attitude. I love the reciprocity that comes from it. We're gonna do some special things here soon, so stay tuned. I won't bug and take over Isabel's show for it, but yeah,
What
all
you
the hounds, man. International, man. Italy, Spain. We got Croatia in the house now. It is so fun to see so much
Lithuania?
international.
Somebody just came
Yeah,
in. Yeah. That's a
we
great thing.
yeah, Slovenia. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Slovenia, yeah.
Hey, I saw your post this morning. Everybody should go see it. I saw your post this morning. It was rather funny. It was about that. It was about like building community like worldwide, and we don't discriminate on race, on sexual orientation, on color, or how you write the word favorite, which is obviously with a U.
Don't get me started. All right, but yeah, stop putting stuff that's why you don't have alphabet soup over there, number 1. But number 2, and here's what's fun. We don't go after it.
No,
We're never have
yes,
I or the
no,
hounds said, "Hey, we're gonna go after on purpose of demographics." We just open it up to heart level,
heart
criteria.
centered.
Like, yeah, heart centered, and then by default, we just got a big mix of people. But we never cared about that. We just care about what's
No.
on the inside, and that's been a fun thing. And you meet so many people. I've evolved from the monkey I was 2 years ago to the redneck that's losing his accent, right?
You're still a monkey to us, Mike. Seriously.
But I'm the monkey that can think. Yes.
Hey, listen, dude, let's start the show. Let's roll the intro and then we're gonna come back, the both of us, exceptionally. Is that how we say that? Exceptionally. Usually I come back alone, but now I'm bringing you back because we have a message, a very, very important message. So, guys, stay tuned. And Sindel, beautiful producer, roll in the intro. Business is no longer only about products and services. More than ever, it's about connection and community. Business is about people. And that's why I created these live events. Every week, join me in discovering one remarkable individual. No shop talk here. It's about who they are and not what they do. My name is Isabel Fortin, and welcome to People, Passion, and Purpose. Oh man, Sindel, I mean, seriously, guys, seriously, okay, I'm gonna do a shameless plug here. If you're looking for an executive assistant, there is no one on this planet like Sindel Dawn. Nobody. She creates the video. She does that. I give her carte blanche. She does what she does. She does it on time. She's prepared. She's extraordinary. So seriously, you're looking for a VA, Sindel Dawn. Okay. So now we have a special treat, or I don't know if it's a treat though, because our guest, Mike, you want to take it away? Talk about our guest, would you?
Oh, can I do that? Usually when I do that, you're
Yes.
like, "Hey, it's my job, buddy." Uh, so yeah, like Susanna Dawn, alright, brilliant, wonderful individual. Met her well over a year ago through, I believe it was through the great Dr. Constance Leland, CJ, Level Up Academy. And, the more you get to know her, the more you like her, right? So
Yes.
she has been a saint, especially with the last anthology, right? Beyond Boundaries, living life in the sort of thriving in the gray zone. That thing has been instrumental. And she was fantastic. She was a calm in the storm. That thing, publishing gets really, really complicated, but it
Yeah.
wasn't for us authors. So I'm super excited for this combo. They've got more things coming up. And just my endorsement is, hey, take advantage. These ladies, and Susanna, they make things affordable, accessible, and so easy for us. They take on so much. And she has a special day coming up, right? Are we going to do something, or
She
what are we going
well,
to do?
I think we should. And I think to
I think
make
we
it
should.
extra special, I think it'd be very good to sing her happy birthday in French. So, have you, polished off your French, dude?
You know how you do row, row, row your boat, and then somebody else. Let's do that. Let's do. What's that
Yeah,
called?
okay.
Go ahead. You lead, I'll follow. How's that?
So,
Yeah. Hold on. Let,
oh, 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 you
me,
wanna
me.
okay.
La,
So,
la,
let's go.
la. Yeah.
Bonne fête, Susanna. Bonne
Bonafide.
fête, Susanna. Bonne
Susanna.
fête, bonne
Bonafide.
fête.
Something
Bonne
freckles.
fête, Susanna,
Dons.
sister.
Oh, wow, we just lost all the viewers. Oh my goodness, it's my fault. Happy birthday. I tried, Susanna. It's all from the heart, buddy.
Thank you.
That was the funniest thing we could do for your birthday was that. Having Mike speak French, you're not gonna get better than this, Susanna. I'm sorry, that's the best we could do.
Redneck French.
Redneck
Redneck French. Oh my God, yes. Hey, listen, we're gonna say bye to Mike. Mike, thank you. Have a great day, buddy. I'll see you. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 other times today because we seem to be always live together. And thank you for
at
being
least.
here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Susanna. Cannot wait to hear about the next anthology. You guys rock. We fully support you. All right.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
birth month
Happy
from
birth month.
both.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Susanna, my sister, how are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good
Oh,
for 7 in the morning.
I was just gonna say thank you for, accepting to do this live. It's always better when it's live instead of being recorded because we can actually react to
Oh, yeah.
in the comment section. And so, but you're like, we're, all the way in the opposite side of the country. So it's pretty early in the morning for you. So is that natural for you to get up early?
It is natural, and quite frankly, it's later than I had to be yesterday because I had a talk. I did a talk yesterday at 6:30 in the morning. And
Okay.
that was for an international e-conference that was 7 p.m. India time.
Yeah, I saw that in one of your posts. You were invited to talk at a conference. That's beautiful. How did it go for you?
It went well. It's
Yes?
it's going to be fun to go back and see the video because it is on. I think it's on YouTube. I know they gave me a link
Wonderful.
for it. I just haven't had a chance to see which place they dropped it, if it was a Facebook or a YouTube. But yeah,
Well, as soon as you have that link, come and copy it in the comment of this show so people can actually see it. So, Susanna, you listen to me all the time, and for the love of God, I don't understand why. Not that it's, I'm not somewhat kind of interesting sometimes, but more than because it's 7 a.m. and when we're, preparing for our day, to have the generosity to actually turn on the computer and listen to me blab and listen to our guest because it's more about the guest than it is about me blabbing. I appreciate that so very, very much. And will publicly say Susanna was the one that edited my chapter in the last anthology. And thank you so much for your patience, your kindness, and the fact that you were extremely even-tempered, because God knows I wasn't.
You were fine.
Thank you,
You were
sweetheart.
not that difficult.
Thank you. I try not to be. I seriously try to be not to be. But you know how it is when we are in our own heads, right?
Yep.
It's we know what's going on all the time. Well, what is on a conscious level. So we think that we're always worse than we actually are. But hey, listen, enough about me. The show is about you, and you've seen the show almost all editions, so you know how this is gonna go. So my first question, beautiful Susanna, is who, dead or alive, has been the most influential on your life and why?
Well, I'm going to give you two because the
That's
first one
okay.
was the first one was my grandfather, my mom's dad, who was a Lutheran pastor. And with him, I didn't get to see him very much because I was born in Fargo and he was in the Dakotas. And when I was 4, we moved to northeastern Maine. So it's like we're not in the same we're not even in the same time
Yes.
zone.
Yes.
And so I only got to see him for maybe a week or two every couple of years, which means it was a big deal for me when he showed up. And then of course he would always preach. It's like guest preacher, preacher. They
Yeah.
don't get a break.
No.
But see, he was the quiet one. My grandmother, she was the chatterbox. So I never really got to talk to him until grandma was in the home and she had Alzheimer's, and I'm not even sure she recognized me that particular year when I was
Mm.
headed back from Fort Knox back home to Oregon. But that I really only had one conversation with my grandfather, and that was it. And during that conversation, I asked him a very specific question, and the answer that he gave me basically was one of those things that helped me know that I was on the path that I was supposed to be. And
Mm.
and I always saw him as I think he was only like 5'8". I've got his cowboy hat, and it's like I can't wear it, but
Too small?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely too small. But I always saw him as looking like Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh.
And I think that's a part of the reason why Teddy Roosevelt was my favorite president was because of my grandfather. So
There was a
so
familiarity for you.
grandpa was really the only man in my life that I looked up to and
Mm.
respected and trusted. My, my dad was not in that category at
Yeah.
all. But then, really, the person who's had the most impact on my life is CJ.
Oh, I was
I
kind of
really,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say, I was kind of secretly hoping that that was gonna be your answer.
it was. I had to start
Yeah.
with grandpa because he really was so important to me, even
Yeah.
though I didn't get those touches with him. I didn't I didn't get to see him much, and when I saw him, he was always on the quiet side.
Mm.
And my grandmother, she was a chatterbox. So it's like I got to bake with her, I got to cook with her. I learned a lot of the family history from her, even though they both had stuff. So, but then CJ, we connected after somebody she was on somebody else's live stream in February of last year. During that, I made a comment about the the importance of the butterfly effect
Mhm.
as written by Ray Bradbury in A Sound of Thunder. It's like
Yes.
I always say that because some people think of a butterfly flaps its wings in Thailand and creates a typhoon in the Western Hemisphere. It's like, nope, wrong one. It's more of that time travel thing, and she
Mhm.
said something on that show, and so I jumped into the comments, talked butterfly effect, and the fact that for all the shit that's gone through my life, there is no way I would change any of it,
Mm.
because by that point, I could look in a mirror and love who I'm looking at. Could love the face that was looking back at me,
Yeah.
which I couldn't do for decades or
Yeah.
a half century.
Yeah.
So then as time went by and we started doing projects together, and it just she became my bestie.
Mm.
The sister that the sister that I never had, and the person that I could say anything to. I could tell her how I was doing, what I was going through, and there was no judgment whatsoever. And so then we could start opening. It's like we open up to each other. She's always
Mhm.
talking about how she uses me as kind of her sanity check at times. It goes both ways. And and so going through this, the biggest thing was in November, she said, "Do you want to go to Podfest with me at the end of January?" And I was hemming and hawing, and it's like I wasn't sure because Florida's not exactly the safest place for me necessarily.
Yeah.
We talked, and I thought about it, and then finally, right before Christmas, I said, "Okay, I'll do it. When do you show up, and when are you leaving? Because I want to make sure that for me, it's safety in numbers. I mean, quite
Mhm. Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of women,
absolutely.
even
Yeah.
traveling, women's like,
Mhm.
you want to be there with numbers. You don't necessarily want to go places alone. So she gave me the info. I looked it up that night. It was a Friday night before Christmas, and it said, "Well, you will be going from Portland to San Diego. You get on the same plane as CJ to go to Orlando, and then you will return on the same plane to San Diego before you go back to Portland the next day." I
Yeah.
was like, well, okay, this is obviously meant to be. So, for having never seen her in my life in real person, our first meeting is in the airport in San Diego.
That's
And within a
beautiful.
half an hour, she's got everything set up and we're doing her live stream at the gate. And
Of
we've got
course.
this mother and her two daughters sit kind of in front of it. I mean, we can't miss them because it's and I'm watching CJ's talking through through it, and we're going through it, and I'm watching the mother and the daughters kind of going, "Is there a judgment?" But when we're done, they're like, "This was great. We loved seeing this. My daughter's thinking of doing podcasting."
Yeah.
It's like it was great, and the whole trip was we were together, and Sandra Gonzalez was with us. So it's like the three of us from San
Yes.
Diego to San Diego. Everything. It was amazing. But then doing these anthologies, we just bounce ideas off of each other, and there's so much that we can do. And
Mhm.
I can't imagine where I would be right now without CJ in my life.
And I'm sure she feels the same about you.
It's just been it's been a blast. And even when I hit those low points,
Yeah.
there are times that I don't say anything, and she just calls up and says, "What's going on?" So
Yeah, you feel one another, right?
we
Yeah.
have that connection. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you didn't respond to my text, you didn't do this. What's going on?
Mm.
And there she be.
Yes,
I
and Sandra Gonzalez. Oh, speaking of which, beautiful CJ is in the house. Thank you, and thank you all for coming. I see you guys, Kelly Wagner and Melissa, of course, and Sindel and Mike and Kofi, and thank you everybody for being here and for supporting this hour where I'm highlighting Susanna. It's my turn to highlight her.
Well,
So yeah, and
in terms of
go
this
ahead.
idea, CJ would be the one that was the answer to your question.
Yes. Well, yeah, I was kind of hoping, just because like from the outside, well, first of all, CJ, you cannot not love CJ. That's impossible. That's the first thing. It's like not liking Doctor New. It just that's not possible. So, but you guys are so beautifully opposite in your energy that I'm sure, and I've just said that, but I'm sure that she feels the same about you because you feel one another. So it's more than just being friend. It's about being so deeply connected that even though you live a flight apart, it's not, it'd be a long drive, you still feel one another. And talk about human connection, because a real deep human connection is way stronger than Bluetooth, guys, or Wi-Fi, right? So, and it's beautiful to be a witness to real connections like that. It's really beautiful. Hey, listen, you're hearing my Canadian now. Hey, um, what what's the thing that you are the most passionate about? How did you discover that passion? How did it come about in your life?
Well, there's a couple of things, and the writing is definitely
Yeah.
there, and it's something that's always been there. I just didn't really focus on trying to get published or anything until last year. And
Hmm.
my first book that was published was July 7th of last year. It was an anthology, which was followed by another anthology in August and another one the day after that. And then I self published my first solo novel in September, my next one in the end of November, another anthology in December, my first traditionally published solo book in January, and then the latest anthology, Beyond Boundaries, Thriving in Life's Gray Zone, was last month. And book number 9 will be published by June. And that's the current anthology, which is Moving Beyond Boxes, the journey to self-discovery. So the writing and being able to do that, quite frankly, I talk about how much CJ is important to me. We were in of the 5 anthologies that have been published, we were together in 4 of them.
Beautiful.
So the anthologies are there. Speaking, which really kind of caught me off guard a little bit, is really where that passion is, and especially talking about moving beyond boxes
Mm-hmm.
and shine. I didn't realize how everything that I've written, everything that's been published, has that message in it, including the Armor of God fantasy series. It's the story of a main character who was always told who he was, what was expected of him, without anybody really caring that he knows himself better than anybody else, but he
Yeah.
can't know himself because everybody's he's stuck in that box.
Yeah.
Oldest prince, yet he's not the heir apparent. It's his younger brother. And so he gets sent on a quest under his younger brother. And while the quest is for the armor of God, it really is also a personal quest for him to understand and then move beyond whatever boxes he's been
He was
stuck
put in.
in, and to ultimately shine as his authentic self. So it's like everything I talk about, that is a fantasy story of what I talk about. And the funny thing is, I told you the importance of my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I was reading Ephesians chapter 6. My grandfather numbered 6 things in that, because I've got a copy of one of his Bibles. So
Okay.
he was a person that wrote and underlined in the Bible, in his books. And so it took me 3 weeks, 3 readings to understand what he did. He was numbering the 6 pieces of the armor of God. This was reading it in 2013. Once that clicked, it's like, oh, he numbered the armor of God. The next question was, can I make a fantasy story out of this?
Mm.
I don't know where that came from. It was just a thought.
There's
And
an
then,
inspiration.
and the next thing I know, this shows up. And this. and this ribbon right here is for the first book. It's an OSMA first place award when it was a manuscript. It hadn't even been published. It was one
Wow.
standing. So it's been in everything. Oh yes, definitely. Highlight that last comment by CJ, because also important. Yeah, it's just everything. So
Yeah. Inspiration is everything.
so
You can't motivate people. You can inspire them, but they have to motivate themselves. Yeah,
exactly.
CJ, love that. Yeah.
And
What
that's
part of oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
no, and that's why I talk about igniting awareness,
Yeah.
because we know we're stuck. We know
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of stuff, but if knowing is half the battle, then awareness is the first step.
Yes.
It's not until you have the awareness that you can take back control, that you can do
Yeah.
what you should do to be your authentic self, that you can then take the steps to do it.
Yeah. Amen to that. And what about, because you said writing, obviously that came as no surprise for me that that was one of your passion, but speaking seemed to be that is a passion that you just discovered. Am I
It's
right or wrong to assume that?
it's much more recent, because
And
all my life dealing with the boxes I had to deal with, it was hard to get up and talk in front of a crowd.
yeah, I understand
And
that.
but I have done presentations on an international level. I've spoken at international educational conferences in China and one in Canada, in Toronto. But it was still there was some nerves to it. And then until a few years ago, when I realized speaking and bringing this message, being on stage, is really the calling. And
Mm,
especially to talk with groups of women, because all my life I got tired of being told who I was,
mhm. Yeah,
what I was supposed to be, expected to be. Because when that happens, it drains, it removes confidence. By the time I left high school, I had no confidence.
mhm.
And then the person who hurt me the most is who I ended up working with for 20 years, because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah,
I was totally lost. So I worked for my dad for 20 years, and for 14 of that, I was a cavalry officer in the Army National Guard. So
yeah.
it's like doing 2 things at once. And obviously I had more fun doing the guard than I did. But I mean, that's, and of course the fact is, when for a period there I had my own troop, it's like I had 9 tanks, I had 13 Bradley fighting vehicles, I had 3 mortars, a maintenance section, a big old M88 tank tower,
Yeah.
all and all the ash and trash that goes with it. 150 soldiers is like, I had more firepower than the 41st Infantry Division if you take out its cannons.
Yeah, but I like that picture that you're talking about, Susanna, because and yet, because you weren't giving yourself permission, because society wasn't giving you permission, because your family background wasn't giving you permission to be who you are, and because you didn't hone in on that, and because you didn't stand up in your truth before you were ready, and that's okay to wait until we're ready. But at
Right.
some point, we have to, push ourselves and like Mike would always say, it is courage before confidence. You had all of that outside power. You were in charge. You were literally armed. You had, guns and tanks and all that good stuff. And yet you felt powerless. So I love that analogy because it is until we give ourselves permission to show up and get out of that goddamn box that society and whoever, it doesn't matter who, of
Right.
the outside world is trying to fit us in the box. It's until we say, well, that box just doesn't, it's not my size. It doesn't fit me. And we break that box wide open, that it doesn't matter how many guns you own. It doesn't matter what the firepower that you have. It's you can still feel small and like you are without power. So I love that analogy because that's what it is, right?
Well, and these boxes too, it's people will stick us in a box because of some minor aspect of ourselves. It can be neurodiversity. And see, now because of CJ, I know that I'm in that box.
Mhm.
Um, because it's like I do have ADHD, and that that was confirmed recently, and it's like, thank God she's the one that was with me when I was going through that. But people stick us in these boxes when they learn something about us: neurodiversity, LGBT, having a non-regional accent, tattoo, take your pick.
Yeah.
Everything, race,
Yes.
creed,
Yeah.
education,
Hair
it's all that.
color.
And
Yes.
so when they do that, yes, I blame you. Uh,
Yes.
when they do that, what they're really doing is sticking you with everybody else, and they're seeing that you are like everybody else in the box, and in fact, you are like whatever particular subset of a subset that they pull out as the example of everybody that fits their narrative.
Yes.
So if they want to view neurodiversity as bad, they will choose that
Yes.
particular example
Yeah.
and paint everybody the same way.
Yeah.
The reality is we don't fit in that box. That box cannot describe us.
Yeah.
Just because I'm neurodiverse does not mean that I fit the box. And quite frankly, it is such a broad category that being bipolar is not the same as ADHD, is not the
Yeah.
same as
Yeah.
autism, is not. And ADHD, it's such a variety in that. You can't
Yeah.
say that everybody's the same.
And so is autism. That's why we call it the spectrum now.
Exactly.
Because there's no two that are exactly the same. It's so funny because when I'm listening to you talk, and the only thing that the quote that keeps on coming back in my head is, you can't judge my entire book if you started reading at page 340.
True.
So if you don't know the entire thing, if you don't know, like, and but people do that. They take one single aspect of your life, they take it out, they isolate it completely, and then they judge your entire humanity based on this. It's like, well, yeah,
Exactly.
but I'm more than that. I'm a sister, and I'm a friend, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a god lover, and I'm a salsa dancer, and I'm a and I'm a whole lot more than what you have isolated from my life and decided that the people, and we all do that. We do have to give other people and ourselves grace, because we all judge out of fear, out of our biases, out of our limiting beliefs, out of so the only thing that we can do on a human level is just when we catch ourselves doing that, say, no, 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 no. I'm gonna either get to know this person or just let go of the judgment and walk away if that person isn't for me. And it's okay that
Right.
that person isn't for you. There are 8 billion of us. Trust me, more than half of them are never going to like me, and that's okay. I'm good with that. So that's the important thing. That's what I'm hearing.
And that's why that's why I love talking, especially in front of women. This is why I want to take this message to the stages, to corporations, to organizations, to conferences, and bring this to that level, the
Mhm.
same message. And then also to make sure that everybody understands, yes, we can fit one box, we can fit a multitude of boxes, because that's
Yes.
really true. The
Yes.
reality though is we we are so much more than any box could define, and quite frankly, we are so much more than the sum of every box that we could be put in defined. So we cannot be defined, and that's why these
Yeah.
mythical boxes need to be, as Mike keeps saying, shredded.
Yes.
And
I agree with you.
if we go back a little bit in CJ's comments a while ago, it's like, yeah, that's another one. Breaking the box, because it was the one at like 7:28 my time, where CJ's like, during Podfest, she basically pulled me out to learn that you can network in the bathroom. So
Oh my God, CJ. God
talk
damn.
about
Thank
breaking
God for her.
boxes, though. Talk about moving beyond boxes and learning these
Yeah.
different things that can happen, and you just run with it. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of being with CJ, is I just run with it. It's like, okay,
I have a
oh,
funny
we're going to
story.
the outlet mall. Okay. Oh, we're
I have a
going
fun.
to CKNY. Okay. What does
Okay.
this look like? Oh, go try it on. Okay. Buy it.
I
Okay.
I have a funny story when meeting people in the bathroom. My best friend, we met in 1989, and we have been friends ever since. We met in the bar close to where we lived at the time. She was military, so was I. We we met in the bathroom because she asked me if I had a spare tampon. And we have been friends ever since. So, CJ, my sister, you're 1000 gazillion percent right. There's no wrong places or wrong time or wrong way to create a human connection, because that's what
Yep.
networking is. But I do want to step outside of that just a little bit, because I want to be extremely respectful of people's time. And oh, shoot, the modeling. Oh, you were modeling, Susanna. Okay, that's going to have to be another show, though. You've heard me ask this question 100 times, not quite, but um, I created the show because ever since I started my LinkedIn journey, everybody's looking for their purpose, or helping other people find their purpose. So, and that's why I called this show People, Passion, and Purpose, because like the intro video says, business is about people.
Mhm.
It's what are the chances that you're going to buy from somebody that pitch slaps? Well, in my case, zero. Um, and I'm pretty 117 million percent sure it's the same thing with you. So, what have you discovered your life's purpose? And if so, how did that come about?
Well, we've been kind of talking some of that already, because
True.
being on stage, bringing this message, whether it's focusing on stage for moving beyond boxes, and I have a whole series on that, or even working with a company on belonging, because it really has that connection to it.
Yes.
Belonging is being able to drop the walls in an organization and stop wasting energy covering ourselves, and instead engaging and enjoying feeling like you belong in that workplace, and helping the company see that it's actually beneficial. I don't care if you think you're making money now, you have a chance to do even better if everybody feels like they belong, because number one, they're not going to be jumping ship, and how costly is that? But the purpose is between the writing, where the messages are showing up in the writing, and the speaking. It's really something that I was not expecting to happen until just the last few years. I mean, even this part of my journey is only, I could probably go back almost exactly 7 years now. It was April of 17 when this part of the journey really started, when the first spark happened.
Was that
Then
a particular moment? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
it
Was
was
that a
there,
particular
there
moment?
was there was a particular moment I can go back to and point to as
Okay.
it's
It was
when
an
it
aha
started.
moment.
It was not so much the aha moment. It's
No?
something that
Okay.
I kind of always knew. It just, when the time is right, you know it. And so that's really what it was. It was, okay, this feels like the right path. Quite frankly, I went to the Bible looking for reasons not to go down that path. And I was shown I'm on the right path, because to me, you can find a reason to do anything in the Bible. So if you go looking for the reasons not to do something and you find
Yes.
them, then you shouldn't do it.
Yes.
But if you don't find it, you're where you're supposed to be. And that's what I was
Yes.
getting. So the
Yes.
journey began there. It was slow. I mean, it was me moving beyond a box beginning in April of 17, really. And then in 2019, Christmas is when it kind of got supercharged. And with the pandemic and everything, um, it took off by the middle of 2020, and it just never looked back. And so
Beautiful.
the speaking the speaking really started, I would say it kind of started in 21, when that district manager asked me to do a video, and I'm like, and I dragged my feet, but I did it by the end of 21. And really from that point forward, it became obvious that it was time to find the speaking platforms. And then going into last year, that's really, I knew that was the approach. Doing some summits, doing podcasts, and now going for the bigger stages, the conferences, organizations, and
Yeah.
putting this message in front of especially women wherever I can, because I'm tired of seeing us sitting back, stuck, and feeling like there's nothing we can do, when if you understand the box, you understand who or what's in control, and you know that you don't belong there anymore, and it's time to take control. That's when you ignite the awareness, take over, and move beyond boxes and shine.
You and I could literally talk until, I don't know, the sun goes down in,
A few
I
times.
don't, a few times. Yeah, a few and then some. But unfortunately, the show ends eventually, and eventually, I'm gonna have to go pee. Uh, I always end my show the same way. You know this because we've gone through this. Um, I offer my guest the opportunity to ask me what the heck they want. I'm trying to be polite. And so, Susanna, do you have a question for me?
Oh, I think I always knew this was going to be the question.
Uh-oh.
Favorite childhood show?
Well, that's not fair because it's in French. It was called Sol et Gobelets. It was on CBC, which is the National Broadcasting
The Canadian
Corporation.
Broadcasting
Yeah,
Corporation.
Canadian Broadcasting Corporation,
I
but
know the CBC.
but it was the French version.
Well, I grew up
And
too.
ironically, it was my favorite show. It was two clowns played by white men in their 50s, but they were extremely wise with with the use of language and their humor, and there was always like a second degree, but a second degree that was extremely educational and inspirational, and ironically, and I wrote this in the story of the anthology that I wrote with you and beautiful CJ. When my dad came home to tell us that our mother had just passed away, that's the show we were watching. So, Susanna, you've come full circle with my story today on the chapter that we worked together and that you were so kind to work with me because that was my favorite show. Yeah, as a kid. So, if you want the English, that it was the Love Boat.
The Love Note?
The Love Boat, the
Love Boat.
1970s show. Yeah.
Okay, so
Because, yeah, go ahead.
because I also have my favorite Canadian show.
You watch Canadian TV?
I lived in northern Maine. I was 8
Oh,
miles
yeah,
from the
that's true.
Canadian border.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So what was it? I'm curious. Hockey night in Canada. No, I'm kidding.
No, my dad would never have watched that. My mom, I think, tried to watch that a few times.
Okay.
She was the sports fan, not my dad. He preferred racing. Anyway.
That's okay.
The Four Strangers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was on for years.
I watched that after getting home from school all the time.
Wow.
And the
I didn't
episode
know.
I remember the most is the one that had the Wolverine.
Oh, I don't remember that one. I knew you had lived in Maine and northern Maine. I didn't know how old you were at the time, so I didn't know, because like even northern New York, they watch CBC and they watch CTV and all the the Canadian um, TV shows, or even listen to. And actually, ironically, one of my favorite English radio station is 99.9 from Burlington, Vermont. And I think it's Burlington, Montpelier, Vermont, and Plattsburgh, New York. And they broadcast in Montreal, and they play great music from the 80s and 90s, which is, my crew and your crew too, I think. And yeah.
Well, I
So,
graduated high school in 83, so
yeah, you're just a little bit older than I. I graduated in 89, so 6 years.
yeah.
Susanna.
Well, I turned 59 this week.
Oh my goodness. No, I disagree with that. You turn 49 next week. Or 39. I think you should bypass a few decades, because I truly do. Because well, you got trapped in that goddamn box for so long. I think you should get an extension. Guys in the audience, what do you think? Should Susanna get a 20-year extension?
When
I
I
I
left that
I think.
box, stepped out, being authentic, I think I lost about 20 years, because when I look at the photos of then versus now, well, one person called it an evolution of a smile. but it's getting younger year by year.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay, no problem, CJ. I'll go to San Diego. CJ, anytime you want, I'll go to California to visit you, and I'll hop on Kentucky and visit the redneck at the same time. Hey, listen, I do want to be. Thank you, Kelly. Yes, she should get a 20-year pass. Yeah, I agree. Um, it's been so great to have you on the show. You are so awesome. And if people don't know you, they should totally get to know you. So please share with the world, how do they get a hold of you? What do you do for a living? And how can you help people?
well, everything is right there for the LinkedIn. I
Yes.
think I'm the only Susanna Dawn on LinkedIn.
Yay.
And then my website is susannadawnwriter.com, all one word. And those are really the best ways to get a hold of me, are through both of those, because I'm on LinkedIn more than anything.
Yeah.
And my focus is speaking the message of move beyond boxes and shine, especially lifting women, and working with organizations to break down walls, to create an environment of belonging. Because when we feel like we belong in a workplace, we are no longer wasting our energy covering ourselves. It's not affecting our mental health like it does when we're trying to hide aspects of who we are because we're afraid. And quite frankly, when we feel like we belong, we're more likely to share ideas that will benefit the organization and be more open and engaging with people, which only affects the bottom line in a positive manner.
Yes.
And if it's, I mean, some people will talk DEI. I see belonging as covering everything. Because if you feel like you belong, you're diverse, you feel equity, you feel included. It's all of that. And in the workplace, when everybody feels like they belong there, they don't have to be at the same place. And that's why I like guidelines, not policies. Meet people where
Mm-hmm.
they are. They're more likely to feel like they belong, and they're more likely to give their best to do better.
Mm. Amen. There isn't a better way to end this show than this. Susanna, thank you so much for getting up and putting your face on so bloody early in the morning. You are kind and generous, and I love you to pieces. Thank you to everybody in the audience for supporting this show and supporting my guest, because it is about my guest. Thank you to the wonderful, soon to be 30 something producer Sindel Don, and thank you to Mike Asherbranger, the redneck Batman. That's how I call him since last week. And next week, guys, join us. It is going to be D. Grant Smith, the wonderful storyteller. So we are in for a treat. Until then, be good to yourself and therefore everybody else around you. I love you all. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.